Welcome back to the channel. Please excuse the background noise. I don't know what it is they're doing back there, but please excuse it. Hopefully I can talk. I'm talking loud enough over it where it's not of a hindrance to any of you. But is Ja'Cory Brown Jalen Hurts? What does Tommy Rees mean for Alabama? And is there full buy-in this particular offseason, right? So let's get started. So I watched the Super Bowl yesterday. I didn't have any rooting interest in it because my team didn't make the particular Super Bowl. But I was just watching, the Philadelphia Eagles operate on offense. Obviously, we're one of the best teams in the NFL. They wouldn't have made it to the Super Bowl. I've heard some media pundits say that maybe if Jalen Hurts hadn't got hurt, maybe they had a good chance to go for a undefeated regular season, but that didn't happen. So kudos to the Kansas City Chiefs. But as I'm watching Jalen Hurts operate, I'm watching the way that they run their offense, and I said, there going to be some Miami fans that say, well, if we get an offense like that, then Ja'Cory Brown could be very successful. And sure enough, I saw it. I mean, that thought went through my head. I said, someone's going to see this, and they're going to say, well, man, that can be Ja'Cory. That can be Ja'Cory Brown right there. That's him right there. But it is what it is. It's just fans. It's stuff that we can talk about. It's interesting. But like I said, I'm not necessarily going to entertain the topic because I've already spoken about some quarterbacks in the past that have been able to do things, be successful at this particular stage of their career, collegiately, with similar or lesser skills than Ja'Cory Brown. But I knew that was going to be a particular target point. I just knew that, right? But anyway, probably late on this particular topic, but it was something I did want to talk about. Tommy Rees being hired to the University of Alabama, and subsequently they hired Kevin Steele as a defensive coordinator. And what we saw in the Super Bowl, not the Super Bowl, but National Championship, we saw the University of Georgia implement a particular system that I think, to me, was somewhat comparable to what Alabama ran when they were doing that pistol offense, which Trent Richardson and Mark Ingram and even Derrick Henry were very, very successful in running. And I think with the addition of a Tommy Rees, I do think that Alabama may be getting back to more so of that particular offense. I think this past particular year, and obviously you add in the quarterback position, they don't have a Bryce Young on roster. They also don't have a Jameson Williams. They don't have, at least in terms of, well, I don't even want to say that. They don't have like that quartet of wide receivers that they had that all ended up going first round: Waddle, Judy, Ruggs, and Devontae Smith. I don't think they have that type of roster in wide receivers, and I think some guys that they did recruit to come in to try to be replacing those guys didn't live up, and those guys don't seem to be living up, and some of those guys have transferred out. So I think maybe from an offensive identity standpoint, I think Alabama could be going back to the offense that they had pre-tour. Well, not even pre-tour, but Blake Barnett. What's his name? Barrett, or the black quarterback that they had, the first black quarterback they had when Lane Kiffin was there, when they had Amari Cooper. I think an offense similar to that, more so, and with a bigger emphasis on the run game, because I think over these past 2 years, well, at least the past 3 years, I would say, Alabama has been throwing the ball a heck of a lot more, and the defense has not been as dominant as many people remember it being, even though they have not been devoid in talent. So I think Tommy Rees coming into the building is a sign that Nick Saban is going to try to get back to more of a power particular run scheme versus what many in college football as well as Alabama fans have been accustomed to over the past since Tua's time, right? So those are my particular thoughts on that. Now, is there buy-in? Is there complete buy-in this offseason? I'm not on Twitter, but I just happened to, I was typing in Malik Bryant's name because I was looking for a picture for a thumbnail, and one of his tweets came up. And I'm kind of paraphrasing, but he was saying, like, man, we got like regardless of who's here, we got like the best staff, right? And so I thought that was very interesting to say, because that is a sign of buy-in right there. And so we heard all offseason last year that there was 100% buy-in from the players. And then when the road started to get a little rocky, that's when people started leaking stories saying, well, there were still some guys who still were not willing to do things the way that Mario wanted them to do things. So after this particular season, this particular offseason that we just had, a lot of those guys are no longer on the roster. And then maybe some of the guys that are not on the roster, maybe they were some guys that probably may have did buy into what Mario was talking about as well as the staff, but maybe some assistant coaches, maybe they just didn't want to be in that particular situation anymore, and those guys are not there, subsequently anymore. But will they be 100% buy-in this particular offseason? Obviously, we won't know those answers to those questions until the season starts. But this is when officially the season starts. Spring ball. I think we're 2, maybe 3 weeks away from spring ball. Still waiting on the offensive coordinator hire. But that's that. But I just want to know: do you guys think that there's a 100% buy-in this time around? Or will we have a situation similar to last year where reports are there is 100% buy-in, but you still have some guys that are not solely bought in, because there's a big transformation that has to happen from the inside. Can't blame Manny anymore, because an issue that transpired in terms of this particular coaching staff was put out there was allowed to fester by the current head coach. So those particular issues have to be remedied to, in my opinion, maybe bring somewhat of the trust back of the players. Right. But as always, man, like, share, subscribe, comment, and as always, it's all about the you.